Welcome to another episode of the Strength Log. My name is Philip Wildenstam. I'm a co-founder of Strength Log and a certified nutrition coach.
And I am Daniel Richter, CEO of Strength Log and a certified personal trainer. And you know what, Philip? I ran this morning.
You did?
And then I placed something on... No, never mind. Iraq. I was going to make a joke about that too. We're going to talk about Iran today. Or not so much about Iran.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I was completely lost because you run every morning.
Yes, I do.
Days.
I do since like 3 months back or something. Soon 4 months.
This has become a cardio podcast.
Yeah, you either die a hero or live long enough to,
I'm closing in on 1 year of doing 15 minutes of cardio at the end of each strength workout.
Oh, we haven't talked about that in a while because it kind of got overshadowed by your walk-in 10K steps. 10 kilometers every day.
Yeah.
But you're still doing that.
Yeah, I'm still doing that. I mean, it's only when I go to the gym. I've needed to do some strength workouts at like hotel rooms and stuff. Yeah. And then it's hard to go on an exercise bike because there is none. But since early February this year, so only 2 months left before I reach a yearly streak.
That's amazing.
And I feel better. I've also passed 100 days of walking 10 kilometers at least. I've averaged 12.5 or thereabouts.
That's really good.
That's nice. And my cardio fitness levels after these months and months of being more active, I've raised my cardio fitness level in Apple Health by more than 5 full points.
That is so great.
So I'm not gonna die by 55. I'm gonna die by 60.
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
We still got some good years left in you.
Yeah, I hope so. Iran, you said.
Yeah, we're going to Iran instead of Ibiza. No, today's study comes out of Tehran. Tehran. There's supposed to be that soft H in there, I think. I tried to listen to the pronunciation in Persian before this podcast. Or if I don't know which language they talk. Probably a ton of different of them. But we've got a really sweet study coming out of there.
Yeah, this was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I got excited by it when I saw it, and even more later on when I actually found out what it was about. Turns out you can't always go by the title. But yeah. We're going to talk about a classic fundamental principle for training, being rest between sets, and also kind of in a wider perspective, how much time you take to do your reps, I suppose. And it's related to training volume, which we talked about in last week. It's closely related. So yeah, we're going to talk about, this study we're going to talk about, they looked at short versus long rest between sets, but they matched the groups for volume or for reps. So both groups did the same number of reps or lifted the same amount of the same load. So the short rest group, we're going to get into this in more detail, but just to briefly cover it, the short rest group did more sets until they matched the volume of the longer rest group. And surprisingly few studies have actually looked at it this way, because most of the studies on resting between sets, they are like this. You have two groups doing, say, 3 sets of 10 or 5 sets of 10 and whatever, and then one group rests for a long time, say 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and the other group rests for a shorter time, maybe 1 minute or something. And then they get to train this program for a couple of months, and you see what kind of results they get. And almost always we see that the group that rests longer between the sets gets better gains in muscle and strength. But we also see that they have done more reps over the program and lifted more load, which is reasonable because if you rest longer, you can lift more weight. Yeah. So in that sense, you haven't only changed the rest time, you have also changed the training volume, at least in terms of load. Maybe not in terms of sets to failure, but in other variables. So it goes to show that you can't always, like we talked about this before, like how different models can inform your training gains. And just talking about hard sets per week is often a good way to talk about it, but not always.
Yeah. But if you have two people following the same training program, and one person is resting 60 seconds between set and the other one is resting 3 minutes between sets, you're gonna get this outcome.
Yeah.
This is what happens at gyms around the world. You have a person resting very short rest periods and another one resting for longer and getting more quality reps in from the same program.
Yeah.
But it's still very interesting what happens if you match the volume.
Yeah, because it is the obvious follow-up question. Well, what if I just do a couple of more sets until I've matched it? Because you might still be able to save time doing that. And time is often a huge restraint for many people's training volume. Many would like to train more, but they can't really fit it in. So, we're going to Iran. Tehran. Yeah. They got a hold of, the researchers that is, of 17 untrained, meaning they hadn't done any regimented resistance training in the 6 months prior, university students and gym goers at around the age of 25 to do leg extensions for 10 weeks. And yeah, okay, so 17, that's not a ton, but this was another of those within subject studies. So one of the legs was assigned to the long rest group, so to say, and the other leg was assigned to the short rest group. So the same person followed 2 different but similar training protocols with each leg. And this was randomized so that the dominant leg wasn't always in the same group for every person. So one leg in one group and the other in the other group, which is in many ways a really good design, because you suddenly get so much less variance in results, because every pair is going to have the same diet and training experience and genetics and so on. So a really good way to get some more accuracy in at least some of the results. We're going to get back to that. So these 2 groups of 1 leg each, let's call them long and short. The long group, or well, both groups, were gonna do sets in the leg extension, or knee extension as they call it here, with their 10 rep max. So that is a weight they can do around 10 reps with until they reach failure. They were going to do 1 set each of that to begin with, but then the long rest group was going to rest for 2 minutes between each extra set until they had done 3 sets per session with this 10 rep max weight until failure. The short rest group instead was, well, first going to do 1 set to failure and likely reaching around 10 reps in that set. Then they were just going to rest for 20 seconds between each repeated set, going to failure again, until they had matched the number of reps they did with the long rest leg. So they always began with the leg doing using the long rest and doing these 3 sets of around 10 reps to failure, and then they use the other leg to do as many sets as necessary to reach that with only 20 seconds of rest.
The same number of reps.
Yeah, precisely. I'm so sleep deprived today, so if I'm more out of whack than usual, that's the explanation.
Yeah, you told me you went up at 3 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
Was it football?
No, it was kids. First one kid and then another kid at 4 o'clock.
Ah, nice.
So, yeah. As mentioned, they always began with the leg doing the long rest between sets to be able to mirror it with the short rest leg. But obviously this is slightly negative for the training of the leg using the short rest period, because you're going to be slightly more exhausted, like centrally, not in the leg, but it might have an effect on how hard you're able to push yourself and so on. Probably not a ton, but a little bit. So yeah, and the training program was 10 weeks long, 2 workouts per week. They did this. They began with this 10 rep max weight they began with. It was calculated to be 80% of their 1 rep max, and then they adjusted the load continuously to maintain around 10 reps in that first set. So as they got stronger, they increased the weight so that they landed at around 10 reps in the first set of each workout. And the leading leg that had the long rest between sets, they did, as mentioned, 3 sets in the first bunch of workouts. They did 3 sets per workout for 6 weeks, and then in the last 4 weeks they did 4 sets per workout. And the leg that rested, short time between sets, just followed with as many sets as necessary to match the reps. And there was good supervision. They had at least a 2-to-1 ratio in every workout with 2 researchers and 1 subject or participant. So yeah, a lot of attention. And they also got a 40-gram protein shake after training, or a shake containing 40 grams of protein, that is. And before and after the 10 weeks of training, they tested the subject's 1 rep max in the knee extension machine for both legs, and they measured the cross-sectional area of their quadriceps using MRI, and they measured it at 30, 50, and 70% of the quadriceps length.
As the researchers wrote, the gold standard of testing.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Probably better than ultrasound, but ultrasound is very closely following, I suppose.
Yeah.
So let's get into some results. Let's begin just by looking at how did their training actually look when they were completed. So the group or the leg resting for a long time between sets, they averaged 3.4 sets per workout over these 10 weeks. And, that's because they did 3 sets in week 1 to 6 and 4 sets in week 7 to 10. And the time to complete these 3.4 sets was 7 minutes and 19 seconds. We'll get back to that. The short rest group, or the short rest leg, they averaged 5.6 sets to match. And the time to complete that was 3 minutes and 10 seconds. So slightly less than half the time it took for the 3x10 group. But yeah, we'll discuss that later on. The volume load, meaning the sets multiplied with the reps multiplied with the weights, so the total amount of lifted kilos, turned out to be similar in both groups, which was the intention, so that's good. And well, if we begin looking at muscle growth, both groups gained similar quad area at all 3 measurement points without any significant differences between groups. So both legs grew equally well. The overall quadriceps cross-sectional area increased by 8% in both groups. So that's nice gains. Could be a bit larger gains, but yeah, it's decent. Because, this is area, so it's not the same as thickness. You just expect larger gains in area than in thickness. Anyways, they also increased their 1 rep max strength very similarly by 42% in both of the legs. I think one was at like 41 and the other at 42. So very similar. And here is one of the drawbacks with using this within subject design, because there is something called the crossover effect, meaning that training you do with one side of your body crosses over and translates into strength gain in the other side of your body. So if one of these protocols would be better for strength gains, the within subject design would be bad for discovering that or seeing that. So this design is great for seeing muscle growth, which doesn't cross over, but not as good to detect strength differences. In that case, it would be better to have separate groups of people. Ideally, genetic twins.
Absolutely. But I would, if strength was the main purpose of following a training program, I wouldn't recommend this anyway. But if we're looking at muscle mass gains, this seems kind of nice. There's some curiosa for the quadriceps geek. So quad means 4 quadriceps, 4 heads in this muscle.
3 of them only crosses over your knee joint. So when you extend your knee, like you do in squats and lunges and walking and whatever, all of these 3 muscles are worked. And these are the vastus muscles, or the vasti, I suppose you say. The 4th one is called rectus femoris, and it crosses both your hip joint and your knee joint. This is called biarticular. It's a biarticular muscle. It crosses over 2 joints. And the effect of this is that when you say do a squat or a lunge or something, the rectus femoris doesn't change very much in muscle length, because while you need to extend your knee, you will also extend at the hip, so the muscle itself remains the same length, and it can't really aid in the movement, because if it tenses, well, it helps in one end and hurts in the other end, so to say. So to train the rectus femoris, we've seen in earlier studies, and we see it in this one. The leg extension is a very effective exercise, because you keep your hip still and only extend your knee. And we saw here that the rectus femoris increased in area more, like twice more than the other quadriceps muscles did. It increased by between 15 to 20% at different regions. And this is, I mean, if you're into bodybuilding or just want to have like really muscly looking legs, the rectus femoris is one of the most superficial muscles located at the front. So, and it might be an important detail for someone who wants complete quad development.
Yeah, but different types of leg extensions are the exercises of choice for bodybuilders when it comes to complete development of their thigh muscles.
Yeah, I mean, they're good for the rest of the other quad muscles too.
Of course, but I mean, squats and leg presses are great for the other 3, but almost worthless for the rectus femoris.
Yeah, but they do work a ton of other muscles in your legs and your ass.
Course. But this, my point is, this is known for a long time.
So you're just going to sit there and say, I knew that already, to everything I mention in these episodes. I knew that. I knew that.
That's my role, partner.
Nice. So anytime you don't say it, you didn't know it beforehand.
Maybe.
All right. So what do we have here? We saw very, very similar muscle gains in both of the legs. We also saw similar strength gains, but I'm not placing too much emphasis on that result here. But the muscle growth results specifically are interesting, I think. And I want to mention that this is in line with 2 similar studies to date, according to the authors of this paper. One did the same type of comparison, with the rest periods being 2 minutes versus 5 minutes and matched for volume. And another study has done this with 1 minute versus 3 minutes of rest, and also matched for volumes. And both of these earlier studies saw similar gains when they matched the volume like this. So 3rd study to date, we're starting to get some nice evidence here that volume seems to be important.
Who knew?
I
knew that.
You knew that. That's so nice. This just brings my mind to protein, and where we were like a decade ago when we started having like protein frequency studies.
That sounds like a nice comparison.
Yeah, variables like timing and distribution, etc., they're not completely unimportant, but like the total volume of reps or protein is going to be most important. And I mean, for protein, that probably goes like over 24 hours. And for training, maybe we're looking at like over the week or something.
Yeah.
So as long as you get those reps in with the same weight, or training close to failure, it doesn't seem to matter a ton how you distribute it, or you can evidently do it in a lot of ways. I mean, now we kind of look at the spectrum of 20 seconds up to 5 minutes in some of those studies. And I mean, those haven't been directly compared, but it's plausible that you'd see similar effects.
But I also see the same, the similar challenges here. Because if you're going to train like this, or you're going to eat enough protein, it might be easier if you it might be easier to get your daily protein need if, let's say, you want to eat 200 grams of protein a day. If you're going to do that in a single sitting, that's hard for most people. That's going to be a big challenge. But if you eat 3, 4, 5 meals a day, it's going to be a lot easier for most people. And also that would give you a better protein timing probably, because you eat both before and after working out. And when it comes to training like this, this study is, in my opinion, almost extreme, giving someone 20 seconds of rest before, just keep pushing. And leg extension is one of the quote-unquote easier exercises because the setup is non-existent. You're just sitting there in the chair and you start doing the exercise. But let's say you want to volume match the squat, for instance, where you need to take out the barbell from the rack. You need to get mentally ready to torture yourself with something as horrible as the squat. I have a hard time seeing this being something easy for most people to do.
But I wonder how much of that say sensation or those thoughts come just from the label we put on it, because what this 20-second group did is rest pause training. They did one rest pause set. That's how
I've tried rest pause sets. I hate them.
So that could be the title and the perspective on this study too, like comparing 3 sets of 10 with one volume matched rest pause set could be the way to look at this.
But it's a set that goes on for 3+ minutes.
Yeah. So I think this is cool. Unless
cool.
that is already clear. I am into this, and Philip is very not into this.
No.
So, but yeah, it's, it's one of those results, together with the 2 previous studies that broadens the picture and gives you more options. Because for someone, this might be perfect. I want to do my, say 3 sets of 5, if that's what the program calls for. That's 15 reps. And now someone knows that, okay, I can do 5 reps in the first one and then just rest pause until I'm done with the 15 and get out of the gym 5 minutes faster. That makes my lunch breaks less stressful. Those cases. And I like that.
I would say that my main takeaway is, if you're going to be in a hurry at the gym, if you're going to be one of those cardio bunnies on the gym floor, you need to add sets, probably. You need to do more sets in a workout than someone enjoying their life, resting for 3, 4, even 5 minutes between the
wasting their lives, sitting on the gym bench. But that's an important point, because if you are following a fixed program, say that calls for 3 sets of 5 or 6 sets of 2, that's a bad example with only 2 reps. Say 3 sets of 5. You will get better strength and muscle gains if you rest longer. Ideally, you should rest 5 minutes between those sets or more when they are hard. If you only rest for 1 minute between them, well, you are going to hit a wall where you can't increase the weights anymore and, get worse results. So that
you're going to cheat yourself in some way. Either you're going to start with a lighter weight, so you can finish all reps in the last set, or you're not going to finish all reps in the last set. Yeah. That's just how it's going to go.
I do just want to mention that if you are a beginner starting out, you don't have to rest for 5 minutes in your first workouts when the weights are light. But later on, when you're trying to push that progressive overload and adding 2.5 kilos or 5 pounds, you're going to find that you need to rest longer to be able to perform those sets. So sometimes it's okay. It's just if we're talking about sets to failure or close to failure, this matters. And just to get some rest numbers or milestones out there, we see, if we begin from the low level and build up, after a set to failure, and after you have rested for 30 seconds, you have recovered around 50% of the creatine phosphate that you spent. If you rest for another 30 seconds, you have recovered 75%. So the half time for recovering creatine is 30 seconds. And this means that The difference between, say, resting 1 minute between sets and resting 2 minutes is that after 1 minute, you have recovered 75% of your most important fuel for heavy sets. But after 2 minutes, you have recovered 95% of it. So if you are like really trying to chase seconds or save minutes off your workouts, going from 1 to 2 minutes makes a big difference. Then when you go from 2 minutes up to 3 minutes, we're talking about, instead of a 95% recovery, maybe like a 98% recovery-ish. We see a medium difference. And then we see a small difference between 3 and 4 minutes. And if you want to recover like as much of your performance as possible, we are probably talking about somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, which, I mean, if everyone did that all the time, their workouts would be really long, but sometimes some sets might require it. You might not train that way all the time, but sometimes it might call for it.
But in those cases, we're mostly talking about like power lifters or weightlifters, and people are really trying to maximize their strength gains.
Yeah.
You don't see many bodybuilders resting for 10 minutes between sets.
No.
But you see a lot of powerlifters having a cookie, drinking a cup of coffee.
And that, when you mention bodybuilders, that reminded me that these results are also interesting on the flip side, because I think maybe you and I were interested to see that, okay, so the short rest group got equal gains as the long rest group, but there's also the other camp that might insist that short rest periods are superior because they are more stressful for the muscle. But we saw in this case and the previous studies that no, that doesn't seem to be the case either, as long as you do the same volume. So if you don't like rushing, it doesn't seem like you need to do that either, just to chase some pump or something. So once again, the total volume of work seems to be the most important. And also, I got to think of this actually opens up a kind of an interesting or fun way to progress your training, because now you might set like total rep targets. Say that in the bench press, your working weight is 80 kilos or whatever. And if you do, say that you can do 3 sets of 10 with 80, and you set a goal for yourself that I'm going to increase the weight up to 85, and then I'm going to gather 30 reps with that in however many sets I feel like today. I might do a few hard sets, I might do many easier sets. And when you reach 30, you increase the weight again, and you just progress like that. So that can be like one nice way to progress. Could probably be kind of good for strength. Because, that's another thought I had about this. Because initially I thought that this study utilized the same time period to perform the same workload, so that both would have taken 7 minutes, and like the 20-second group just did a few reps in each set. But in this case, they finished their workout faster. But we also have the option of doing it like that. So meaning that you do a lot of mini sets but take the same total time. So instead of doing 3 sets of 10, you might do 10 sets of 3 in the same time period. And what's going to happen if you're using the same weight in both cases is that you are not going to get as close to failure in those 10 sets of 3. You're probably going to be a bit fresher, be able to lift the load a bit faster in most of them. And my guess or my hunch here is that might be good for strength and power development, but it's probably not as good for muscle growth, which seems to be more important to get close to failure, to like exhaust all your muscle fibers. So that this kind of also pries a bit on the lid to that way of training.
There's a lot of things to play around with in the gym.
Yeah.
When it comes to these things.
But we see that when you are playing around, like your foundational principle is the volume. And often you can think about it in hard sets, like we talked about last week. But in this follow-up, it's obviously not the only thing that matters, because sets contain different amount of reps.
They do.
Yeah.
Now I'm inspired by what you said, because we're talking about making a new program builder for our app.
Yeah.
That's more block focused and set focused, like the one we have today.
Yeah.
And I would like to add the feature to just have a rep goal, and then take as many sets as you want, because we're thinking about different ways to different concepts for training when we're talking about this new feature that's so far just on the idea stage.
Yeah, I think it can be like a method of progressing that's a bit less like stressful. You don't feel like you have to perform every workout, because that's one of my issues with like low volume but high intensity training, is that you only have 1 or 2 sets to perform really good. But if you're not in the mood for that, it can be hard to do it. So this is kind of the flip side, meaning that you don't have to go hard, just collect the reps any way you want to. But what if you do that? You begin with like 3 sets of 10 at 80, and you keep adding the weight until you're doing 30 sets of singles. That's gonna be weird. But why not? Why not?
You might become stronger by it.
Who
knows?
Yeah. Do we have anything else? Yeah, okay. So you mentioned doing, let's call it rest pause, or let's not, I don't know. But you mentioned doing this in the squat, and that brings us to the topic of which exercises lend themselves to this. Probably not the squat, at least with a free barbell, maybe some kind of machine.
Yeah, maybe. But when we're talking about the drop sets or rest pause training, I always go to the more complementary exercises, the assistance exercises like curls, tricep work, leg extension, things that are easy to set up and carry a low injury risk if you lose your focus.
Yeah, simple and stable.
Yeah.
Do you know what you can do? You can do deadlift singles every minute on the minute.
For 60 minutes?
Yeah.
What was it, 80% of 1 RM?
Yeah.
So 60 reps in total.
This was a long time ago, and I suppose we talked about something similar, and I kind of blurted out the idea to do deadlifts every minute on a minute, because I did that at the time, but only like 10 total reps or something. But I blurted out the idea to do it with 80% of your warm-up max for an hour, so 60 minutes. Yeah. And my little brother did that. Did he manage the full 60 minutes?
Yeah, I think so. He wasn't the only one. Where we got our DMs were filled with bloody hands.
Yes.
This was very irresponsible of you.
This should be a workout in the app.
This should absolutely not be. We
Let's
might
call
have
it the
litigious
strength log
listeners
challenge.
out there.
Let's call it the Swole-Off challenge. Let's make it a badge in the app. Great idea.
Don't. Never. Ever. We can get sued, Daniel.
This is another way to progress your training. You begin with doing this for 1 minute, and then, I don't know, like 5 days later or next week, you do it for 2 minutes, and so on.
Sure. You're writing a program for the app right now with the quote-unquote daily lifting.
Yeah.
Have you named it yet?
No. And the name is it's important for me that it's a good name.
So you're looking for a good name.
Yes, I am. And I mean, it's probably going to be 5 days a week. I've been doing it or trying to do it for 7 days per week, which I have done now for the last 31 days. Before that, I had like a 10-week period where I think I averaged 6 days per week almost, or 6.5 days per week. And I mean, I do kind of believe that 5 or 6 days per week is better for almost everyone to get at least 1 day completely off. And I did a poll on my Instagram. Yeah, it's weak, but it's better. But it's still weak. I did a poll on my Instagram, and between the frequencies 5, 6, or 7 days per week, 5 was by far the most voted for option, with 6 trailing behind, and like 10% wanted it to be 7 days per week.
Yeah, but the people voting for 5 or 6 days a week, they don't deserve this program. They don't want to earn it.
Yeah, so I don't know, but you can always take the 5-day program and just do it without resting if you want to. But the volume is going to be a tad higher if I write it for 5 days.
But please send Daniel suggestions for the name of the program if you have a good one out there.
Yeah, you can either, you can comment on YouTube if you're watching the podcast there. You can write on Reddit if you on Philip's post about this podcast, or just send a DM on Instagram, and we'll see. I want daily in there in the title, but then again, it's 5 days per week. I don't know.
5 days per week is that's not daily.
It's daily for 5 days of the week.
It's such a cop out.
Yeah, do use our app, program or not, to track all of your weird set and rep configurations. It's called Strength Log, and like 95% of it is free, so use it.
It's a very good app.
It is. I'm a fan.
We develop it almost daily. 5 days per week. We work on making it better.
Yeah. Do you work daily at the office, like in your day job? I know you work.
I'm at the office every work.
Are you at the office daily?
No, I'm not at the office on Saturdays or Sundays.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, very weak of me.
Yeah. All right, nice study. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, so check back to see what we're going to talk about next week. Make sure to hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss it.
And also please leave a review if you like the podcast.
Yeah, please do. All right, thank you for listening.
Train hard, eat well, die anyway.
Yeah.